Often, one of the things students most want to do with Illustrator is to take an image of an existing item, trace over it, and from this line drawing, manipulate it. This is very easy to do and very effective. It's one of the great things about Illustrator. So, I've got Illustrator open here, and I'm going to insert an image which I want to trace over. So, File, Place, go to Downloads, and here we have an image which is there. So, as we can see, it's far too big for the page, not a problem at all. Just press Command and negative to zoom out on a Mac, or Control and negative on a Windows. Hold down Shift when you put your mouse over the corner, and just drag this a little smaller. Move back into the area, and just drag again. So what we've got there is now a shape. Go View, Fit All in Window, and we've zoomed right in. So this is a woman. We want to draw around the outline of her body, so we can use this to demonstrate just basic ergonomic principles. So we've got layers here. The first one we do is make a new layer and call this tracing. Okay, very simple to do. Now we want to zoom in to get closer so we can actually get some of the detail. So again, Command and plus, or Control plus on Windows. Getting into the point where we can see enough of the detail to get a good enough mark. Take the pen tool and just click on point, and you're looking for the main points here, and you're looking for the pinnacles. So I have a mug here. So if you wanted to draw an arc of a mug, you put a point there, point at the top, point at the side, so it's sort of triangulating. You'll see why in a second. And I'm going to stop there, so I'm going to turn there. You can see that I've got this line, which is basically like her shape, it's not really there. What I do is with the path selected, left click on the pen tool and select Convert Anchor Point Tool. I can then click on a point which is at an apex, so either on the inside or the outside. And I can drag the mouse and you see what happens there. We start getting the shape. Now what it means is that we can warp the shape of the curve. So you see that as I turn it round, the whole thing spins. As I move out, those arms become very large. So how can I do it so it's about right? Now, if I do that, and do it again here, okay, I can see that curve's been too extreme, so I can grab just this single handle and modify it there. I might actually want to get in a bit closer to really see how it's getting the curvature of the waist. It's not too important necessarily. We want to get this exactly right, but the better you get, the better. So you can see I've clicked the point there, click the point there, and it really creates a nice smooth way. Now that point there I think is in the wrong place. You can use the direct selection tool at the top there, click on that, and you can drag it and move it around. As you see, it will deform with the other points. So you've got to be careful to get it in the right area. And also you can change these bits here. So I'm going to say that's good enough for now. I don't need to get this to exact for what I need to do. So zoom out. So as you can see, I've gone from the a bit below the iliac crest, right up through the waist, and gone just below the bust. Now I want to be able to capture the arm and the other side of the body. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to the pen tool. So left click on the little converter tool, select pen. And what you do is you start a point somewhere. Now I can start in mid-air, but as you'll see, when I bring my pen very near the end of that path, it snaps to the end point. So I'm going to click on the end there. Then click next place I want to go. Now what you see is happening here, it's extending the path, but in doing so, it's obeying whichever rules you set before. So this path has not only an outline with the colour, in this case black, but it has a fill. Now this is the same kind of fill as if we were drawing a rectangle, in that you've got a shape with the outside, which is the stroke, and then you've got the inside fill, which is white. Top here, I can turn that off, or I can select a colour. And the same thing for the stroke, I can select that box there. I can set the stroke to being any colour I like, and maybe make it larger. So the paths you're creating with the pen tool are obeying the same commands as a rectangle or a circle. Not a problem, just select here. On the drop down, select empty. That means that whatever you draw is just going to be a line, nothing else. So if we zoom in here again, because we're talking about humans here, and this is an ergonomic principle, we know that the arms do sort of crest up here, then you've got the breast, then you've got the arm at the back. So I want to capture that in a very nice image. So I'm just going to move this point to being, select the whole thing then, didn't I? Being, I know, up there. Left click, convert anchor tool. Let's get this path looking a bit more natural. And you know what? I'm going to try and capture the curvature there. I think that for now, that will be sufficient to smooth this point slightly closer to the outside there. Now, obviously, if you're doing a shape which is a bit simpler than the human body, then it would be slightly easier. But if I zoom out here, I can turn off there. And you can see that we've started to get the next point. So I'm going to do another one. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to try and draw her top, and I'm going to try and capture this so we can do some colour bits later on. So with the same principles, I need to capture this side of her. And because we're doing a human body for a ergonomics journal, in this case, then we can just do it sort of, we can skim over the ripples there. If we want to capture them, we could use it in the same principle, using the pen tool, but for this case, it's okay. So don't feel that you have to be a complete slave to various points. For example, we've got the armpit, we've got a slight flat point there. We can just ignore that. So again, thinking about where we want the curves to be, I'm going to place in the centre there. And I'm going to be making a mistake here on purpose and go right down to the top there. So if we zoom out, we can see that, if I turn this off, this layer here, which by the way was done in the wrong section. Good opportunity to show out layers. I had this layer selected, the lifeguard layer selected when I drew this, which means the path has gone into the wrong section. Not a problem, just take it and draw it up into there. Anyway, I can turn that path off there. And by the way, by double clicking on there, you can say, rename it, so right body, and that's going to be the left body. Okay, so we now got both of our tracings in the right section, and we can turn it off and see that the right side does quite closely contour the shape of her body, whereas the left one doesn't contour particularly very well. So what we've got to do here is fix it. We can try using the conversion tool, and we can try clicking on here and really try and get it in there. That's roughly there, but it's not actually very good. So I'm going to undo what I just did, edit, undo. And what we need to do in it is add more anchor points so we can capture the curvature of the body more accurately. So left click there and select add anchor points. And what this does is it adds extra points, so extra clicks, onto your existing path. So I'm going to click just there, just randomly add. And for the sake of it, I'm going to add 2 extra ones. So 3 points on the line that weren't there before. If I zoom in a little, just so I can get a better view. The direct selection tool, once again. and I select that anchor point, I can drag it to where I want it to be. Now, if you look at this side of the body, it's got a relatively simple curve, and if we are smoothing over the ripples inside, that's not a problem either. So these points there and there are not really needed. I can delete them. The way you do that is hover over your pen tool palette, left click, and by the way, when you say left click to bring this menu, you're holding down the left mouse button, and select delete anchor point. And as you might expect, hover over, click, and click, it's deleted. Let's go to convert anchor point, take this, just drag it out, and just kind of see if you can get it roughly right. Go to the bottom again, and let's get this one. You don't have to get it particularly right the first time, just try and get the first half round. The second half, that's completely warped, not a problem. I can just take this and try and get this right. Now that's not really behaving the way I want it to, so I take that there. And once again, take this. It's roughly getting there. You know, I could spend a long time getting this exactly right, but you know what? You don't always have to, because we're doing an illustration, and illustrations are not 100% correct. And you know, sometimes you go, it's fine. In this case, I want to capture that curve there slightly better because I want to be a bit pedantic and accurate. So I'm just going to take the Add tool, add one in there, select, bring it right out, and you can see it captured it a bit nicer. Take the conversion tool here, can I capture it just this little bit nicer? Yeah, I think that's a better capture. It's not perfect, but it's right. So what's going to happen now is if we zoom out, so view, fit all in window. You can't see it very clearly, turn the lifeguard off, and you can see what we've done is captured the outside of her body relatively well. So I'm going to go forward now and just capture a few more details and show you a few more tricks later on. So see you in a few minutes. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done a bit more tracing. This has been done exactly how I just shown you with the pen and the conversion anchor point tool. So right now it looks very messy with lines over her body, but that's fine. We can now move into the more fun stuff. So I'm going to turn her off, and we start to see what the image looks like as an illustration. Now, in real life, you would do a lot more with the body, so the arms, hands, and features. But for this demonstration, this is enough for you to get a good idea of what we're doing. So, if we look into her strap here, it doesn't look very good. It kind of matches what's on the picture, but we're doing an illustration rather than anything else. So, let's just zoom in and take a look at that. If we use the selection tool, we can see that the path's like this. And we've got a bit of a weird path there. So I'm going to go ahead and take the conversion tool and see if I can just smooth this out. Now let's have a look what's going on here. And some of this is a bit of trial and error in that you got to just play with it. So I've now smoothed that out, and that looks like a nice line. So we can actually zoom out and see that looks a lot better than it did before. Same thing for her shoulder. I've noticed a little kink in her skin, which is not what I want for an illustration. So what I'm going to do is version tool, select. Is there 2 points in there for some reason? Zoom right in, move across. And by the way, I'm moving across by using left and right on my mouse. If you haven't got one of these, you can use the slide to the bottom, but I kind of like that. So let's have a look what's going on here. I think we managed to tie ourselves in a knot there. So I'm going to make it life nice and easy by just going ahead and deleting that point. And actually, that follows her skin pretty well. Not ideal, but for illustration, it looks good. So you can go forward and keep modifying your illustration until what you've got looks good for you, rather than being 100% of what's in the picture in reality, because after all, human bodies are a bit strange here and there, and you can make them better for an illustration purpose, or I could say simpler. But anyway, you might be doing an object such as a lamp or a phone. You can still simplify as much as you like. Anyhow, so we have got this. What we're going to do next is colour it in. Colouring in is a very important part of producing things in SketchUp. Now, we've done various paths, and we could select, say, anything. We try and add a internal colour, just like we did with, say, rectangles. And you select, stroke and the fill, and you can do that, but it looks pretty terrible generally. So what we're going to do here is look at the great tool called the Live Paint Bucket tool. So what you've got to do first is you can select your colour, in which case we're going to choose red. So we've got that, and if we take it and just put it where we think we want to put it, so here, we get this error message pop up. And at first you can think, oh my god, this looks really, really bad. What it means is that you've got to have all your paths collected together as a group. So they say this is all one thing, and then you can start painting in it. So that if you've got complex illustrations, then you only paint in what you want to paint in, not the layers behind it and so forth. So that can be a bit of a showstopper if you think about it, but we're not going to have a problem, because we zoom out and we select the whole of the model, which is important to us. But I'm going to deselect these two pieces of the face by holding down Shift and clicking on them. So just so we got a bit of contrast. Okay. Take the paint bucket tool again, and I was using the left and the right tool keypads then, just so you cycle the colour to get to red, and then I'm clicking in the area there. Now what's happened is, obviously we've got a red top there which appeared, but also if you look on the right here, all these pieces have gone together into a live path, which means that if there's more paths inside there, I can start colouring in. Now if I just select a live path and I was trying to do this again in a different area, so let's put yellow, it doesn't work because in the areas outside of this top, they're not closed. So you have to have closed areas within a live paint area. So that is the simplest way to think about dropping it in. So make sure that you've done your paths, they're all closed up, select all, drop your paint in. And you can do more. So we can go into paths here, and there's a texture, which I happen to have. Sorry, went a bit too far then. And you'll notice that here on the left it's now selected as a fill. I can then select the Live Paint Bucket tool and drop it in. So this will be covered in another tutorial on another day, but just bear in mind that you can choose different fills from your swatches and go in. So if we zoom out, so View, Fit All in Window, and go back to our layers and turn on. We can turn off the tracing. That's the lady originally. That's with some areas, and that's what turned off. We're starting to get an illustration come together here. So let's throw a few more things before we finished. Obviously, the weighting of lines is an important aspect to show difference. So I can select here, and you'll see that does go for the live tracking tool and selecting everything. So I can just select different parts here on the path. But if I select that, go to 1, you'll see that everything in this live path does change. So all the outsides of this. Now, if I want to change, where is it? When it's in a live path, you can't turn individual bits on and off. So it's very important that you only group together things actually are together. A good way of thinking about this is drawing individual items. This will be covered in another tutorial another time. But to show you the difference, got these markings here which denote the face. I'm quite happy with actually this whole body being 1 point, but those lines on the face show where the eyes and nose are. It's too strong. So I need to turn these down. So select both of those, and I'm going to take the stroke down to 0.25 points. So they're now very thin lines. You can see, there they are. Another thing we could do is maybe keep them at 1 point, take the opacity down to 50%, or maybe even 30%. So now they're faint markers of where the face is. Other things I can do, I can say I want to have a different style of lines. So you see here it's gone from thick to thin and thick to thin. I think this works pretty well with the mask, so I'm going to leave it. But another thing I can do is on the kind of line we've got, the brush definition, I can select charcoal, I can select round lines, I can select the basic. So I'm going to go with basic, and once again, there we are. So I've created this very simple illustration by just finding an image which I wanted to trace over, using the pen tool to go for the main lines, and then grouping everything together into a live paint area and dropping some colour in, finally marking the face with these lines. So these are very simple skills and demonstrates some of the ways you can use the pen tool. Now obviously building up an illustration is more than just using one tool, it's different tools put together. So good thing to do now is go and look at some of the other videos in the playlist and get your Illustrator skills up to a higher level, so that when you want to start looking at image and tracing and producing from this, you can start doing very complex areas. So that is the pen tool and basic colouring for now.